for federal oversight. And of course, that results from a Supreme Court decision in 2013, which essentially struck down, I think, Part 4 of the Civil Rights Act, Voting Rights Act, rather, which said that there had to be some permission from the federal government, some pre-clearance through the federal government before states could make any changes in their laws or regulations with respect to registration, voting, elections. And so what we have today is a revisitation of many of the same kinds of arguments that existed in the late 19th century.
And in other words, when folks, excuse me, talked about the grandfather clause in the 1870s, after the passage of the act in 1870, today they no longer talk about the grandfather clause, but they come up with the system that means that you have to have a passport in order to
a government issued ID or state issued ID. What they're doing also, they're relocating polling places. They are also cutting early voting days. You know, black churches for a long time, since 1965, have devoted Sundays to days of registration. They have what they call souls to the polls missions. And of course, with the cutting of early voting days, that has been essentially eliminated. So what you have here, of course, are voting rights restrictions that have been put into place that mainly affects minorities, the elderly, students, and that's really a revisitation of what we've seen in earlier days in history.
It's a repeat of the same kind of laws. It might not say that you have to, in order for you to vote, your grandfather has to vote, but if you come up with a gun restriction, I mean, voting only if you have
voting ID, restrictions.
Those are the same restrictions then and restrictions there. Receive the same kind of support.
Yeah, right. The only difference is that in the late 19th century and the early part of the 20th century, restrictions were clearly based on race. Now you have a more subtle approach to voter restriction and voter suppression, and it's mainly led by people in the Republican Party, unfortunately. You have today in 2015 what is called the Voter Rights Amendment Act put forth by Democrats, and what they want to do is to upgrade the Voting Rights Act to reinstate this emphasis on what? Federal oversight and the need for states to get pre-clearance from the federal government before they make changes in voting.
With an effort of trying to what? Open the franchise for all groups, minorities or whatever.
And to expand it.
And expand it. Very
exactly.
Good. Okay, and of course what we're going to do, we're going to take this second commercial break, and we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break.
President Obama has recently spoken to that, and so we can talk about what we're going from here.
That's it. That's it. That's very good. Yeah, that's what we want. Yeah, this is it. This is good information. It's just restating some information. There's nothing new in reference to this. It's just the same thing. You know, the idea is to eliminate.
Unfortunately, it's the same old story.
Same old story. Instead of trying to expand